Today we're going to build 3 projects using fence pickets. Now I usually prefer cedar because it's less likely to have chemicals in it. Otherwise, the ones that are pressure treated, those chemicals are not really good for you, so I would recommend avoiding those. For project number 1, we're just going to need 1 fence picket. And for this project, along with the other 2, I'm going to be using a sliding miter saw to make all my cuts. Now if you don't have this, you can always use a circular saw or even a handsaw. For this first project, we're going to need a bunch of repeated cuts to the same exact length. And to help reduce time and speed up this process, we're going to set up a stop block, and let me show you how. Before you make your first cut, we need to make sure we have everything measured out to the exact length we need and line that up with the blade, knowing that it'll be exactly where we want it. Somewhere about in there. Once we have that, you need to have a block of wood that you can clamp right here to your miter saw. This will allow you to make that first cut, remove that piece of wood, take the next piece, bump it up to it, make that cut, and so on and so forth. And if you do it correctly, all these pieces should be identical. Just make sure that that piece of wood is clamped down really well so it doesn't move at all. You will need a total of 11 pieces at 5.5 inches long. I chose 5.5 because the width of most pickets are 5.5, and that way these should be nice and square. Also at this point, if you happen to have any black marks from the factory, this will be the time to sand those off. And if you have any real rough edges, knock those down as well. Next, we're going to grab 2 of these pieces. We're going to lay one flat on your workbench, and the other one we're going to line up flush right there on the edge. Now if you'll notice on my board here, it's a little bit warped and it likes to rock back and forth. So a little trick I'm going to do is actually flip that bottom board over and then place this one back on top. When I glue and I clamp all this together, it should help flatten that one out. Then take the rest of the boards and line them all up like we did the first one, and you should have one piece left over. Just set that to the side, we'll use that in a minute. It's now time to glue these together. To help speed up this process, once I have the glue in that joint, I'm just using a brad nailer to join those 2 together so that they don't move. Now if you don't happen to have a brad nailer, that is okay. Just make sure that glue is fully dried before you go to the next step. With all 5 pieces now ready, I'm going to do a little pre-assembly to show you what this looks like. Take 2 of them and have them look identical. Take this top one and we're going to flip it up on its back. Then take the second one, flip it on its back, and then I'm going to rotate it towards myself and it will come together and join right there on that edge. With those first 2 in place, we're going to take a third one in the same position, flip it up on its back and slide it right under the second. Take a fourth one on its back and then towards me, right there under the third one. And this last piece, we're going to flip it on its back and slide it right in. Then of course we have that remaining piece left over and we're going to join it right there on the end. And here's what it looks like on the opposite side, so you can get an idea of what it looks like from my angle. And once you have it all put together, it'll look something like this. Any clue what it is? This is a corner shelf. Where you have 2 walls come together, it's usually a 90-degree angle and it's usually wasted space, unless you can build one of these. Let me show you. In this shop, I don't have a lot of spare space because I've tried to utilize everything, but I have an open corner right behind my dust collector here, so let me show you how it works. Now take your shelf, you want to slide it right in that corner. Now you can use nails, screws, maybe even some double-sided tape to attach this to your walls. It really just depends on what you would like. And that'll allow you to have multiple spacing here, multiple shelves, to add a lot more display or whatever you'd like. Moving on to project number 2. Again, we're going to need 1 fence picket. You'll need 2 boards at 8 inches long, 2 cut at 5.5, 2 cut at 1 inch, and then this last piece is a little unique. You want to take the 2 1-inch boards, lay one flat, lay one on edge, just like that, and this last piece should be right about that height. In my case, it came out to about 1 9/16, but yours might be slightly different. Now let's first grab one of those 5.5-inch boards and those 1-inch boards, and we want to lay these on the top but along the sides of the board there. Then I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see it easier. We're going to grab that 1 9/16 and we're going to lay it right on the front. Then we're going to take that remaining 5.5-inch board and we're going to put it along the back side here so it'll look something like that. And once you have all this in position, it's time to glue all that together. Once you have all those pieces put together, we're going to push that piece to the side and let it dry. And we're going to look at one of the 8-inch long pieces. We need to actually trim a 45-degree angle off of one of these long sides. To do this, I'm going to use my miter saw, and I've laid my blade over onto its side at a 45-degree angle. Now, as I go to cut this, there's a very good chance that the wood is going to try and move around on me, so make sure it is nice and secure in place and your hands are completely out of the way. Once we have that 45-degree angle cut, we now want to attach the two 8-inch boards together, making sure that 45-degree is towards the outside. We want to attach them together about like so. Once this has had some time to dry, we're going to grab that previous piece we assembled, and we're going to place this 8-inch board right on top of that 5.5-inch board. We're going to glue that in place, and I'm probably going to add a couple more nails into that, maybe some screws, just to make sure it stays nice and secure. And the project is now complete. And if you thought this was a bird feeder, you are correct. The great thing about this, it has a couple options of attaching it. First, you can drill a hole through here, maybe attach it to a tree. You can always put it on a stake underneath it, keep it off the ground. The great thing about this is you have 3 full sides that you can see the birds eating the seed, and you don't have anything obstructing your view. Hope you get a chance to make one of these. For project number 3, we're going to need 3 fence pickets. Now, before I make the cuts, I want to make sure to tell you the side of your board that has the little edges cut off, the corners cut off, I believe that's called dog-eared. We want to make sure we salvage that within our first cut. In other words, when we make our first cut, make sure that is included. Do not cut those off. You'll need to cut out 12 boards at 16 inches long. And these will include 3 boards that have the corners missing as well. Now we're going to take one of these boards and trace it out on the other 9 and cut those out as well so that all 12 boards will look almost identical. With all of the corners now cut off, I've separated these into 4 groups of 3 pieces apiece. Now let me push these to the side because I'm going to show you that we are now going to attach these 3 segments together. Now we're trying to glue them together, but you might be able to tell there's some little gaps here and there. So from our initial cut, we should have some leftover pieces. I'm going to take these over and cut some strips out of these to help them be additional support on the inside. Now when we're attaching these together, we need to consider the sides or ends with the corners missing. That'll be the top, and the flat sides will be the bottom. So make sure that the bottoms are nice and flush before we attach anything. Now I'm going to use some glue and some nails or screws to hold these together, and that'll give plenty of support, and it should be nice and strong. Once we have the inside secure, we can then attach them to each other. There's going to be a little bit of an overlap here because we're going to attach it right here on the end, but I'm going to add some glue and some nails just to make sure it stays in place. And now we have a nice little picket fence to go around something. Can you guess what it is? Let me show you. My wife and I are getting into a little bit of a gardening, and she wanted to grow some herbs, but in a bucket, they're kind of ugly. But if you take them and you put them behind a little picket fence, they look a lot better. And there's 3 great projects that you could build from fence pickets. Now, if you could think of any other ideas or suggestions that make these any better, please list those in the comments. You'll help out a ton of other people. Otherwise, get out in your shop and have fun building.